Today we are at the fantastic Sykehouse Fishery near Goole for the Friday Open match. Absolutely brilliant turnout, 42 anglers here, but it's a rover. Not a venue I know very well, so we're going to go and speak to a few people, find out what pegs to go on. Fingers crossed for a really low numbered draw so I can get myself on one of them flyers and catch loads and loads of fish. Really looking forward to the day, so I'm going to go and have a little walk around the lakes, see where I fancy and get drawn. Pick number 30 in the rover out of 42. So I always think on a rover you want really early numbers, or the very last one gives you the choice of either lots of room at the end, or your first picks are obviously the flyers. Don't really know the venue too well. I got some advice off James Roper on my peg choice, and he suggested where I'm sat now, peg 13 on New Lake. A little bit of room, I've got 2 pegs spare to my right, 3 to my left. And apparently it's not a bad area, so I'm looking to maybe catch smaller carp, 2 to 4 pounds, some great big uns, and there's some good bream as well, 3 and 4 pound. So that's led me to my approach really. I'm going to start off short pole, hard pellets, hopefully catch a few early carp. While I'm doing that, I'm planning on loose feeding some meat with a catapult at 13 metres out into the lake, where I'll fish a deep rig on the drop. Hopefully I'll catch some carp on that, I'll catch some of these bream, and then, fingers crossed, a big finish in the edge, catch some fish down there to boost up my weight. So, even though I've got sort of not a very good number draw in the rover, I've got a peg I actually fancy. It looks good, winds into this area, sounds like there's a few fish to catch. I've seen 2 or 3 carp top, so fingers crossed things go well for us. We're going to get on with the fishing, I'm going to sort a few last things out, wait for time to be shouted. We'll get on with it and hopefully put a load of fish in the net. So that's time, hooter's just gone. Like I said, I'm going to start off short pole, hard pellets. I'm going to start off just feeding 6mm pellets. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to catch. 6mm pellets will give me a chance of all sorts of sizes of fish. Just rattle them in. Off the surface to start and make a little bit of noise. Now obviously I said I'm going to loose feed meat further out, but I'm just going to give it 5 minutes before I feed anywhere else, see if I catch one quick, see what it is, give me an idea if the fish are going to feed. I've fed them pellets from a bit of height, make some noise, hopefully get an inquisitive fish to come in, and not only am I now waiting for a bite myself and hopefully going to hook one, I'm just going to keep a little eye out on what else is happening around the lake, see if anyone else is hooking any fish early, and give me a bit of an idea on just how well the lake's going to fish. And then I can tailor my approach slightly with regards to how much bait I'm probably going to look to feed and how aggressive I'm going to be. It's noticeable straight away on my rig. On this, you can see the lake's wide open, this New Lake, and it's noticeable on my rig straight away how much tow there is. So it's important now to make sure I keep my rig on top of my feed. I've got a nice heavy rig on, just had a little indication then as well. Nice heavy rig that I can lay in back against the tow, and it actually shallows up as I go to my right, so that rig's always pulling up against the slope, and should mean I can keep everything nice and tight and nice and accurate, and hopefully get a nice positive bite. But I've initially not noticed any fish caught, so I'll lift that rig out. It has moved a little bit, just got to lay it back in and get right back on top of my feed again. There's a few people started on some different methods as well. Some people started on rods, obviously people started on short pole, long pole. Loads of methods can come into play. Something I haven't actually done is set a rod up. I went and plumbed up on the long pole, and at 13 metres it's about, I would say, just over 6 foot deep. But as soon as I go any further than that, it's sloping away all the time, and after 13 metres it seems to drop off really quick. So because it's going to be a bit deeper further out, I didn't feel like it was somewhere I wanted to approach fishing a feeder or a bomb. And obviously conditions aren't very good for maybe fishing a waggler shallow, so for that reason I've gone down an all-out pole approach. I'm hoping I can catch some carp early, short, catch some carp late down the edge. In an ideal world, I suppose I'd catch on them 2 lines all day, but oh, and there's one. But I would think I'm probably going to have to go out further into the lake at some point. That looks like a good fish. Got my sections here behind me ready to go on. Like I said, I don't really know what's in this lake, so I was prepared. For all I know, I could hook one and it could be £20. So just keep them sections behind me, just in 2s. So when a fish runs off like that one did, I can add them on if I needed to. Wasn't quite sure how big it's going to be, how hard they're going to fight. I don't actually think it is very big. Maybe just one of them places where fish fight really hard. I'll just take my time, make sure I land. It's very shallow in the edge, so I'm imagining as I get them close in, they could go absolutely crazy. And one other thing to point out, if the fish are going to be of a good average size, the net limit here at Sykehouse is £60. They do let you go over by 10%, but obviously you don't want to aim to get above that £60, so really important, keep an eye on what's in your nets. I've got a few spares with me just in case. This is a venue that can produce massive weights, so I'm all prepared for that eventuality. And it's not a very big fish, obviously just fighting really hard. It's probably £3 or £4, but at this stage of the match there's no real rush. If it turns into a bagging match, I can step my elastics up, pull a little bit harder if I need to, but at the minute I just want to get a few fish in the net early and get myself settled into the match. So he's about ready for netting. No, he's not. He's decided he wants to have another little pull. A bad bit of netting there, but nice start. Carp, probably £5 first chuck. So really good start to the match. Hopefully go and put a few more in the net now. So we're about an hour into the match now. And to be honest, it's been a good start. I started off short, hard pellets. Obviously I was fishing there last time I was speaking to you, and I got that carp, sort of £4 or £5 first chuck, which was a brilliant start to the match. I went back in and I hooked a small skimmer, then I bumped a small skimmer, so I changed to an 8mm pellet on the hook, try and avoid those type of fish, target the carp, and I got a good one next drop in, sort of between £8 and £10, so brilliant start again. And then sort of 20 minutes after that I never caught anything, I sat for a bit, no more fish, missed a bite I think, caught maybe another small skimmer. I've been loose feeding that meat on the long pole like I mentioned at the start I was going to do. Loose fed that fairly aggressively at 13 metres and I've gone in on it and caught a carp straight away, and it's been good out there. In spells the wind is proven really troublesome. Oof, and I just missed a bite then. Wind's proven really troublesome. It's in my face, which first of all is making feeding a little bit difficult. Fishing with 8mm cubes of meat, so that helps with that. So that's not really a massive issue. The problem I'm having is when I plumb up out there at 13 metres, I've got maybe 6.5 foot. I go a little bit further and it really drops off. It starts to slope off really quickly from there, almost as if it's dropping into a big sort of hole. And I'm having to flick my rig past my pole tip and let it settle back onto that shelf. And it's working really well, but the wind is so strong in my face that I'm struggling to get my rig out past my pole tip on a tight line. And that's causing me loads of problems. I can't get my rig to fish how I want. Once I can get my rig in and fishing nice, sat on that slope where I want it, like hopefully it's gone in quite nice now, I tend to catch one. If I can't get my rig laying on that slope, on that tight line, then I don't really catch anything, and I'm sure there's probably fish still picking my bait up, but because I'm not keeping my rig tight, I'm not really seeing the bites on my float. And definitely if the conditions are just eased a little bit, there's definitely more fish to be caught. But hour into the match, I think I've got 38 pound I've counted in my first net. Well, a brilliant start really. I mean, oh, there we go. That looks like another carp. That one could be foul up, to be honest. But yeah, great start to the match. 38 pound in the first hour. Up there with the type of weight. I'm expecting a big weight of wind today. This place is full of fish. It's full of big fish. Obviously there's 40 odd of us on, 42 I think, spread over 4 lakes, and I'm expecting there'll be some big weights dotted about, so I'll need to keep catching. Well, you're possibly looking at £200 plus to win the match, I would think, but at least I'm not far off that sort of target, and I'm expecting with this wind, although it's troublesome how I'm fishing at the minute, I'm expecting it to be very good for the fish coming into the edge and on the short poles. So keep throwing some pellets short. To be honest, the way the fish are responding, I feel like when I do go out, come and fish short, oh that one's come off. I'm not sure it was foul up neither once it came towards the net. It felt more like it was in the mouth, but never mind. Always going to foul look an odd fish when you're catching plenty. So the way they're reacting to that meat, I'm thinking when I actually come and fish short, there's a chance I might just pop some meat in and start throwing some meat on it just before I go on it, because they really do seem to want to eat it. I'm not going to throw it there yet, mainly because I don't want to run out. I didn't actually bring any meat with me, so I've just bought a few tins from the fishery this morning. Borrowed a meat cutter. Very unlike me not to have any in the van, but the way they're responding to it, I'm starting to lean towards the side of when it comes to later in the match. Oh, some of that went a little bit too far. When it comes to later in the match, the fish are wanting to come close. I might just change that line to meat, and hopefully it'll be really good. I feel like there's a good chance of catching a lot of fish on that short line late. And like I always say when I'm doing my videos, the last spell of your match can be really good, so don't let yourself get out of it. And this long pole line, I'm not expecting it to be a winning line, although it is quite good at the minute. It's a line that keeps you in contention when you come into them last 2 hours of the match. And the fish really start to have a feed, and you catch them on the short pole, you can catch them in the edge, then big fish wake up, you catch them quick, and you really boost your weight in sort of the killing time of the match almost. And you can see that wind now getting really strong again. I've got my rig in though, it's fishing, so hopefully I can catch one before my rig gets moved about too much in the strong wind. It's a really open lake this, you can see on the cameras, and the wind is affecting it. I've got nice positive rigs on. I've got 0.8 of a gram out on the long pole, 0.6 of a gram short, where it's probably only 4.5 foot. But what I'd like to be doing now, because I'm loose feeding that meat, I've got it falling through the water, and I've got a nice high bulk, my rig's coming in slow. I like to be able to just keep flicking it back out, keep loose feeding some meat, really get them fish competing in my peg. But like I said, with this wind, it's making it really, really difficult. But it's not like we're fishing for F1s, you don't need to be getting one a chuck. If you can keep catching a carp, you're always doing well, because obviously the good fish, they're sort of, like I said, 3 to 5 pound, odd ones that are bigger, and apparently there's some massive fish in this lake, so there's every chance you could hook one sort of 15 pound plus. And I would think them big fish will come in the edge. One thing that has surprised me, I got told there was quite a few big skimmers in here. I say big skimmers, they were saying the 3 and 4 pounds, so the bream. I thought I might have caught a couple of those. The way I'm fishing is a great way to catch them type of fish. Just missed a bite then. I've had an odd little skimmer, but I just had a spell before we turned the camera back on for me to talk to you, where it got really, really good. Maybe it's a curse of the camera, but hopefully I'll catch another one soon. Yeah, I'm surprised that bream or skimmers or whatever you want to call them, I've not caught any of them. Maybe later in the match, and obviously they're well worth catching if they're that size. They're as big as what the carp are, really. Also, the way I'm feeding, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a few fish come shallow at some point. It is deep out there. Like I said, it's probably 6.5 foot. And to be honest, I've just missed 2 or 3 bites, which could easily be liners. Maybe I'm going to go shallow as something I might have to look at some point, but I don't really want to if I can help it, because of them weather conditions again. It just makes it hard work. And if I can keep catching them on the bottom, maybe just increase the amount of feed a little bit, keep them a bit lower in the water, and I can hopefully keep them there where they're a little bit easier to catch. Shallow fishing in this wind with it in my face and a bit of cross could become really, really hard work. But if I'm going to start getting liners, obviously I have no choice but to, yeah, there's another one. I'm going to have no choice but to pick a shallow rig up if that keeps happening. What I'm going to do this time, I'm going to go out and I'm going to feed a full pouch of meat, really get some bait and see if it just keeps them where I want to catch them on the bottom. I don't really want us to fish shallow in these sort of conditions. Although, as I say that, the wind's eased off. If it just stay like this, it'd be lovely. And the ripple and the wind in my face is always going to send some fish this way. But when it gets too strong and you can't fish effectively, obviously it negates the fact that it is bringing you a few more fish into your peg. And sometimes you're better off, maybe you're out of the wind, maybe there's not as many fish there, but you can just fish a little bit better, and that obviously can put more fish in your net. So, just got that rig in nice that time. It's settled on that slow, and the bites, typical meat bites, have been really, really positive. I've actually had, even in that depth of water, I've had 2 pull my elastic out. Although maybe that was my attention span wasn't quite good enough. Maybe I wasn't quite looking when I should have been. But hopefully there'll be another fish to catch soon. Right, getting a few liners now. I think the liners, not hooked anything, not foul hooked any, but I'm not hooking any small fish or anything either. So just quickly put my shallow rig on, just see if I get one. If I get one on this, then they're obviously really competing, coming much higher in the water. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Would be nice to catch them shallow. Obviously you can catch real big weights if you catch them like that, but I do feel like it's going to be hard work in this wind. That's the only problem. So I'll just quickly have 5 minutes on it. If I get one, then obviously I'll stay on it. If not, at least I've discounted it a little bit and can maybe alter my feed and oops, that just went a bit far. Alter my feed and try and send it back to the bottom. Maybe feed some bait with a big pot or something like that. at the minute it's just yeah, it's gone from being really good to just a little bit frustrating, because I do feel like there's still plenty of fish there. Well, there is obviously plenty of fish there, getting plenty of signs on the bottom. I'm literally just going to have this quick go on. It's typical because the wind has died right off now. I've gone onto this rig and I could have put that deep rig in absolutely perfectly. I was hoping I might just drop it in. My elastic gets pulled straight out and then it's solid with them. But no signs straight away. Which, if there was loads and loads of fish there, I would have thought I'd have got one quite quickly, because obviously I haven't been fishing for them shallow. They would have been feeding there really confident and probably mopping everything up. So I'll just see if anything happens with that feed. If not, I think I'm gonna just drop back on the bottom. I just wanted to have a quick look, just in case it was solid with fish shallow. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, to be honest. I would have caught one. I've set that about 2.5 foot deep. It's obviously, like I said, 6.5 foot. Plenty deep enough that I probably would have got a liner or two, an indication. And it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. So, probably quickly back onto the bottom. Just see if I can catch a few more there. Like I said, with carp fishing, whoops, that was a really strong sudden gust. Feed some more bait. Yeah, like I keep saying with carp fishing, it's more about making sure you're in the position in them last 2 hours. So, back on the bottom, try and put a few more fish in the net, and we can always hopefully get a good finish short or in the edge. Obviously I keep feeding short. I've not fed anything in the edge yet. I'll feed that with a big pot. I'm not totally sure when. I'll keep an eye out on what's happening. Plenty of geese about to land on the lake. I'll keep an eye on what's happening with other people. If there's a few fish starting getting caught down the edge, I might feed it early. Otherwise I'm probably looking at 2 hours to go at the earliest. And hopefully I'll see the fish come in there. I'm fishing a bit out from the bank in sort of 17, 18 inches of water. Very, very shallow in the edge. As you can see, I've got a box set so that the front of it's in the water with it being so shallow. Make sure I can get my nets in. So I fish out for a bit out from the bank, and hopefully I'll know when they're there. I'll see them. I'll see some swirls, maybe a few tails, or hopefully lots of tails. There'll be loads of fish there. But for now, I'll keep trying to catch them on this line, keep throwing a few pellets short, might have another look on that. Can't see loads being caught on this lake, to be honest. Give an indication again then, straight away, there's definitely fish there. Whether there may be small fish, I don't know. Possibly time to maybe just come off this, give it a rest, and have another drop in short where I keep throwing them pellets. Maybe I can just nick a carp or two and then go back out there. But I was hoping, to be honest, it was just going to build up and gradually get better, this line. All of a sudden, it's just come to not so much a standstill as in not getting bites, but I've not caught a fish for probably a good 10, 15 minutes now, which is annoying because it was going really well out there. Hopefully it's just a momentary blip, and when I come back to you in a little while, things are on the move again and I'm putting some fish in the net. Well, we're about halfway through now, and it's not gone brilliant. Obviously I had a good start, caught £35 plus first sort of hour, and then it's really slowed down, and it's just been since then really an odd fish. But I've probably got, well, we'll see once I land this one, but I've got £60 now, I think. So maybe just hopefully with this one sort of £63, £64 halfway through the match. And like I keep saying, it's not F1 fishing, it's carp fishing, and it does tend to come strong late. You can often catch half of your weight in the last sort of hour and a half, last 2 hours, and that could easily happen today. So as long as you keep catching an odd fish, keep yourself in it. Not too many big fish at the minute, a lot of them are sort of £3-4. But importantly, I don't know how the other lakes are fishing. It's fishing really hard on here. There's not a great deal being caught. So if the other lakes are fishing similar, and I think this lake's been fishing quite well compared to some of the others, so you never know. I'm keeping myself in a position where I always feel like, even if I'm a little bit behind, I can still catch up, because this line where I'm about to throw these pellets short, this line in the edge that I haven't yet fed, could come really good. And it's obviously on a carp match, it's not unheard of to catch as much as £100 in the last hour, so anything can really happen. I've tried a couple of things to change up what I'm doing. I've tried to change to fishing hard pellets long. I fed some 8mm pellets with a catapult round to my right a little bit. It's a really strange peg to plumb up this, because where I'm fishing there is deep, 6.5 foot. If I go further, it dropped off a lot more really quickly. Then I go around to my right and it's shallowing up all the time. So there's not really anywhere flat out there to fish, unless maybe if I'd have kept going out, it might have got flat eventually. But then obviously it'd have been really, really deep. So this wind's still tricky. More than anything now, the problem I'm having is trying to feed my bait. Wind's smacking my face, that's not been right. I was fishing with sort of my bulk quite high, try to give me a chance of catching a few fish on the drop. Obviously while I'm loose feeding my meat, there's maybe a few fish will come shallow, but I'm now just moved my shot further down, because really presentation isn't great trying to fish how I was. So I mean, you can see that I've just tried to fire my meat in and it's landed well short of the target. I have tried potting it and I caught one straight away, but it's just not as good. I just don't get as many bites. So I'm sticking with catapulting it. Ideally, as the wind drops, I need to try and feed, get some in where I want. Not, oh, that looked like a bite. It's not ideal trying to fish like this, but at the minute, there's not really any fish coming short. Nobody else seems to be catching them short, so I just need to make do and keep trying to catch a few, keep feeding them short lines. I've had another go on it. I did catch one, only about £4, but I'm confident I'll catch there later. It's just whether when the fish want to come in, I'm going to keep fishing pellets there, or if I am going to change it to meat. At the minute, I'm still thinking meat in my head, to be honest. I'll drop back in on it with pellets, see what I catch, but I'll quickly change it to meat on that line as well, I think, if I'm feeling pellets aren't great when I drop in on it. I do feel like once you start getting them to eat meat, your peg generally gets stronger and stronger, and obviously towards the end of the match, that's what I'm looking for. But I fed pellets there all match, I've kept throwing them in, and I will try and catch them on pellets when I first go on it. And I'm probably looking now, I mean, there's about, like I said, we're halfway through. I'll probably give it another, I think I might have just lost the shot off that float as well. I'm just going to add another shot on. But I have missed a few bites, which is frustrating, but I think a lot of it's down to down to the fact that the bottom's a bit all over the place. they'll be much, much easier to catch if I was fishing on a nice flat bottom, I'm sure. But to be honest, first hour, they were really easy to catch. I could flick my rig out, lay it up that slope out there, and there were really positive bites. I missed very, very few, and I think a lot of it's just down to the fact that the fish aren't feeding as well now. There's people on here who've caught like 1 or 2 fish, which is amazing really for how many fish are in here, how good the venue is. And I'm sure at some point soon the fish are going to start feeding. Oops, that went a bit short. So fingers crossed I can keep just nicking an odd fish where I am fishing at the minute, but I'm hopeful it's not going to be too long before an arrival short. And I think my plan is now have a look on that short line with pellets like I mentioned. I'll probably think about feeding my edge around about the same time. I'm going to put in some micros and maggots there, and then I'll think about what I'm going to do with that short line. I'll see how pellets go. If I'm not feeling like it's going to come strong enough, I'll definitely think about changing that to meat then. And then I'm left sort of in that last spell, and hopefully by the time I come back to my next update, I'm catching them on this short line, I'm catching them in the edge. The fish have started to come in and started to feed. So I've got no doubts that the fish will come in and will feed eventually close in. And the conditions are absolutely perfect for it, with the wind in your face. Even though it's making life difficult out there, I do think it'll favour me when the fish come in close. And hopefully there's some of them big fish in amongst them as well. For now, I'm going to stick at what I'm doing, even though it just seems to be getting harder and harder work and there's less and less fish to catch on it. But at the minute I just don't quite feel like they're going to come short, but I'm not long now off definitely having a look on that short line. I've been keeping my eye on other people. Heat's come off. Keeping my eye on other people and just seeing if they're catching any. I've not noticed anyone catch any fish close yet. And that's normally my sign to sort of have a look myself. But getting to the point where I'm struggling to fish properly, not really putting anything in the net, and I'm going to have a look anyway and hope the fish are there. It's all well and good keeping yourself in touch with what you're trying to catch, like I keep saying about keeping in the race and having a good spell at the end. But at some point you've got to make that decision that you're not really going anywhere doing what you're doing. And this, to be honest, is getting slower and slower and slower and harder to fish, and it's getting to the point where I'm not really going anywhere doing it. Luckily that's coinciding with the time when I'm not far off expecting to start catching on the short pole anyway. So I think my next move is going to be to big pot some bait out there. I mean, the bait I'm feeding with a carp pole is starting to go all over the place now. Although I have managed to catch one. Starting to think I might big pot some bait out on that line. Hopefully get a few fish settled down on it and just have a look short, see if there's any fish arrived yet. But at least I keep nicking an odd one, just to keep topping that weight up, which is always important. Last thing you want to do is get to, and this goes for any type of fishing, but especially big carp fishing, proper carp fishing. The last thing you want to do is get to that last spell and have your really good ending, only to find out really you've sat and caught nothing and missed out by a small margin when you could have just been ticking along, putting something in your net. That's another small carp again, only about £3, but they're all very welcome. There's a lovely fish in this lake as well. I'm sure in a few more years when they've grown, these fish have grown on a bit more as well, they'll be lovely. They'll be lovely fish. Hopefully there's a few of them bigger ones going to be waiting once we come in a bit closer in a little while. So I'll come back, catch up with you again once I'm on them short pole lines. the final stages of the match. There's about an hour and a half left, and it's going reasonably okay. Had a few more fish on long pole, not loads, but I just kept nicking an odd one. And about 40 minutes ago, I just started potting some meat in. Got one bang my pole tip then. Yeah, 40 minutes ago I just started potting some meat in on this short line. Just every 10 minutes or so I potted in sort of 40, 50 pieces. And I've just dropped in on it maybe 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes possibly. And I've had 4 so far and foul hooked one for probably £30. So it seems like they've turned up. So I'm hoping now for the rest of the match I'm going to be fishing here. And I've started potting my meat in, sorry, not meat, my maggots and micros in further around to my right in the shallower water. Oh, just missed another bite then. Typical, never missed any bites. And then all of a sudden we turn the camera on and I missed 2. But they seem to have turned up, so it's just what I'd hoped. I was hoping later on we might get a bagging spree. And if it stays like this, that's definitely what we're going to get. Just need to hope now that they stay. The one reason for deciding to change to meat on that line, well, there's 2 reasons really. First of all, on that long line, meat was really, really good, especially early on when the fish were feeding. And then, oh, there you see, that pulled my pole again. And secondly, oh, foul hooked itself. The second reason being, when fish start eating meat on that short pole line, your peg tends to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and I never quite feel like I get that same effect with pellets. You seem to be able to feed a little bit more aggressively with meat and just draw fish into your peg. And obviously in these closing stages, that's just what you're hoping for. Just keeping an eye on that edge to my right, see if I can maybe see any fish start tailing up or anything like that. Give me an idea to have a look on it. But at the minute, if I'm going to be catching on this line I'm fishing now, I'm not really in any rush to come off it. There's a little bit more water over the heads there. I tend to keep them settled down and they should hopefully be easier to catch. Although you wouldn't think it after I've just missed them 2 bites and foul hooked one. But hopefully I can just keep catching them there now. I have potted my long line with some bait. I've stopped loose feeding there now, but I've just potted some in on it not long ago. I mean, you can see there, it's not that long ago I foul hooked, and that might actually be a skimmer. Oh, it is. A really good skimmer though. So hopefully now this line's just going to see me through. I'll keep just potting a little bit of bait out long now. Just on the sort of off chance I might need it again. Lovely skimmer there. I'm really hopeful I shouldn't need it now. Hopefully the fish are starting to feed. I'm going to come in close, and if I feel like this needs resting, I'll just have a little drop in that edge. I haven't seen anything on it yet, but where I've fed it, it is sort of 18 inches deep and gradually getting deeper away from the bank, so possibly they could sneak in without me knowing they're there. I would expect to see them, to be honest, especially if they're big uns. But I've got that option now to rest this line. And this line's really looking like it's going to come strong, so hopefully I can get a big finish. Just now that the fish have turned up there, I've took my pot off that I had on when I was fishing pellets, and I've made a change to just throw on my bait. I'm trying to hook one, throw in sort of 10 or 12 bits twice, and I'm hoping by the time I've landed a fish, I go back in and there's another one waiting, and I'll always go in, just give it a minute, 90 seconds like I am now, see if I get a bite. If not, I'll just throw some over the top, and hopefully that noise can really spur a reaction from the fish. And one thing with meat that's vital, as far as I'm concerned, is loose feeding it. The fish tend to love it hitting the water, the sound of it falling through the water, and it draws loads and loads of fish into your peg. So now I haven't had a bite, I've gone in, tried. I'm going to pick up my meat and just throw some in twice like I just mentioned, and then I'll sit and wait for a bite again. So hopefully that'll draw me a fish back, and then just wait for that nice positive bite. And that's the thing with meat, the bites are generally really, really positive. It was just looking like I was going to keep just going in and getting one as soon as I went in, but all of a sudden, I obviously foul hooked that one, then I've caught that bream. It could be that it's going to turn out it needs resting. But at the minute, I'm still thinking in my mind, I really just want to try and fish this line. The other thing is, the fish I've caught out long, a lot of them are sort of 3-4 pound. These ones I've caught short. I've had one probably at least 12 pound, could be bigger. I've had another one 8 pound, a couple that are 5 or 6, and they're real weight builders. Just totally different fish to what I was catching in other parts of my peg. And that always tends to be the case. Late on, the big fish come close, and you really need to target them. And I can even see sort of the peg to my right now. He's catching well, fishing up his margin. His end peg sort of got a long bank to his right, and he's starting to catch in that edge to his right now. So obviously you can see the fish are starting to go on the feed. A bit disappointed I haven't hooked another one yet, because it really looked like it was going to be solid. And then all of a sudden, it's just slowed off again. So I'll give it again. I'll just wait 2, 3, 4 minutes. I did have a liner, so there's been a fish in my peg. Never caught it. And then I'll be looking to just throw some bait in again, make a bit of noise. Probably if I don't get one that time, I'll maybe just pot in sort of 50 or 60 bits, come off it, have a quick look in the edge, see if I get one. Like I said, there's every chance it could sneak into that edge. It's sort of 18 inches deep. It could sneak in there without me knowing they're there. It's always worth having a check. So I'll just feed again, 8 or 10 bits, another 8 or 10 bits, make some noise, and then wait for that bite. I'm really, really surprised that I haven't caught one, to be honest. But at that, it buries and I miss it. Again, like earlier, I was having a really good spell at the start. Fishing long on the pole, loose feeding meat. Turned the cameras on and it went wrong, and it seems to have happened again. So definitely the curse of the camera today. Hopefully we'll get this one. It's lovely fishing when they do turn up on this short pole. Throwing bait. Nice and positive. Liner then. They're definitely coming in. Maybe they're just not quite confident enough yet, but them first 4 I caught, I literally went in, it sat there and just buried a million mile an hour. There was a fish on. But, I mean, the other thing is I'm getting a few indications on my float without catching one now. There could possibly be skimmers. But I really did think I'd have hooked another carp by now. It's quite frustrating because it was really looking like I was just going to go in and suddenly catch one a chuck. And I'm just not quite sure what's caused them to have disappeared again. And the old faithful approach of throwing some in and getting a bite as it hits the water doesn't seem to be working neither. But it has been a case of when they were there, when I caught them 4 quickly, I hooked one, fed twice while I was playing it, and I went back in and hooked another one without having to feed again. So maybe they just need giving 10 minutes to just come back in without my pole over the head, without a rig in the water. Just have. Yeah, I'm just going to put a little bit of bait in and just have a quick look in the edge. into the final 10 minutes of the match, and it's gone okay since the last weigh-in. I have caught a few fish short, not the last weigh-in, sorry, the last update. I've caught a few fish short, but they've never come and stayed. Get sort of a little run of 2 or 3, and really quick as well. Basically, as soon as I go in, it'll bury and I get one, and then it's like they're backing away again, and I just can't keep them coming. And I'm just going through another spell like that at the minute. But in this final 10 minutes or so, if I get one while I'm talking to you, you'll probably see I seem to go straight back in. Oh, I missed a bite then. I seem to go straight back in and get another one as soon as I catch one. So yeah, really strange. But what seems to happen in these spells when I'm not catching anything, I miss a few bites. I've just missed 2 then. But I think the skimmers, to be honest, I think that's what happened. The scarp can't move out your peg. Some smaller fish seem to move in, and they probably can't fit my meat in the mouth, to be honest. So what I'm just going to try and do now, just to try and avoid them even further if that is the case, I'm just going to take a shot off so I can see what's happening, and I'm going to put 2 pieces of meat on the hook. 10 minutes left, might as well go for a big bait and catch a nice big carp. But I would say at the minute I've got probably 125 to 130 pounds. Peg next to me is absolutely emptied it for the last couple of hours. Fishing in the edge along that bank to his right. I would imagine there'll be some big weights today, so I'm not sure my weight will win me anything, but other than winning anything, I've had a brilliant day's fishing. Really enjoyed it. I think that wind has definitely cost me a few fish. There was a few more fish to be caught long than what I've actually caught, but that weather's just made them difficult to catch. And then obviously when I first dropped in short, I caught 4 in no time, and I thought we were on for a massive finish. And it just never quite materialised. Like I said, I kept catching an odd one. I've maybe caught 10 or 12 fish there. So it has been reasonably good, but not quite as good as I'd have liked. Not as good as I needed it to be. Just never quite got going like that. Fish haven't really come into the edge. To be honest, I'm probably at the time now when I maybe should have just refed it again and went straight in and tried, see if we could get one, but another missed bite. Really frustrating that, because I just can't catch one, but I'm sure they're not bites off carp. I'm sure that the small fish. Let's try feeding a bit heavier this time, cram as much as I can into that pot and just see what happens. But the fishing's been fantastic, and I think seeing how many fish there is to be caught is just a credit to how good Sykehouse is as a fishery. You can see why it's so popular. 42 anglers turning up on a Friday for a match is unbelievable. And yeah, the fishing's been absolutely brilliant. Just could have done with that middle of the match being a little bit better, but I feel like I've learnt a lot for next time I come, and I'll definitely be coming again soon, because oh, there we go, I've got one. That could be foul hooked. It looked a very strange bite. Doesn't feel foul hooked, but it'd be nice if we could finish on a high. And oh no, it's come off. I thought it was a strange looking bite, that one. We'll probably find what normally. Oh no, my main line. This has happened 2 or 3 times today. We're going to have to finish in the edge because my main line's broke, and there seems to be, I don't know if it's when the lake's been dug, it's been, there's maybe some bits on the bottom or what, but I think 3 or 4 times now I've had a fish run into something and seem to just cut me off. I've had one snag me in the middle of nowhere that I've pulled in all directions and nothing happened. That's really annoying, because I would have definitely went in and got another one then. No time really to start putting other rigs on with 5 minutes left. So just have these last 5 minutes in the edge. It's that time when maybe you might get one, to be honest. So just put some more micros in. Not fed it for a while, but at this time of day I would expect when the fish are feeding, one will probably come straight on it. I'm just going to go in with a full worm that the fish can pick out. I've noticed the next peg's been catching with worms on the hook, so that gives me a bit of confidence that that'll be the right bait. But yeah, really disappointing that one that happened at such a late time of the day. Just put that in there. I can actually see one now in the edge coming towards my bait, so hopefully we might catch him. Head is right next to my hook bait by the look of it. I can see its tail. It'd be nice for it to just shoot under and turn out that wasn't such a bad thing, that rig breaking. But really frustrating for that to happen. But yeah, back to the fishing. The venue's been absolutely brilliant, and I think, I'm sure we'll put the results on at the end of this video, and you'll see the weights that have been caught. And I would imagine there'll have been loads and loads of fish caught, and there's not too many places you can go with big carp like this and catch loads of fish. It's sort of it's definitely an exceptional venue. There was one there, definitely, as soon as I fed that, I went to ship out and I could see the carp just under the surface. It's really, really shallow in this edge. I was hoping it might go straight under. It seemed as though, from looking at where its tail was, its head was right next to my hook bait. But he must have been a little bit too clever for me. It'd be nice to catch one this last little bit down the edge just to finish it. Oh, and there we go. Finish the day off with an edge fish after I haven't had one. I wonder if we'll be lucky enough. Hopefully this one doesn't manage to cut my line off on anything. I don't know if we'll have time for another. There's about 2 minutes left. But what a fantastic day's fishing. And these fish fight so hard. I certainly don't like to see the inside of your keep nets. But that's a nice fish. The only problem with coming in the edge and getting one that late is it makes me think, should I have been there 20 minutes ago? You just never know, but I was getting them really good runs short. It's hard to come off it when you know you're going to catch one. Oh, I missed him with a net. Great bit of netting for the camera. Got him that time. See if I can be really, really quick and possibly get another one. It's probably £7. Nice fish. Quickly just stick that top kit down. Get him in the net. Quick refeed and hopefully I can just sneak another one. I've got, looking at it, I've got about 2 minutes. Feed some bait. That big volume definitely worked last time, so I'll do it again right on my spot that I'm fishing, where I've got that little flat spot where I've plumbed up. And then straight back in. I've even still got my worm on, so I'll try and catch another one on him. Let's check it's hooked properly. No, it's not. Wouldn't it be nice to just finish? Oh, let's put a fresh worm on that one. Looks a bit squashed, to be honest. That carp obviously had a liking for it. Wouldn't it be nice to just finish off with one more quick one? Quickly get back in. Back on that marker, right on top of my bait. And hopefully one will feel sorry enough for me to get a last ditch carp. One about £20 would be nice. I think I've lost a shot there, but I'm going to have to just fish with it like that. I haven't got time to come and rebait, change my shot. Lovely positive bite that. Proper margin bite. Flies under at 100 mile an hour. Not long at all left now. Just nice. It's always nice to finish off with a fish. It's always nice to start off with a fish as well, to be honest. But the fish definitely haven't let me down coming into the edge and coming short. Just couldn't quite come strong enough. There's one there again now. Oh, that's a real shame. There was one there. They just blew the whistle, and there was one right next to my hook bait. Never mind. So I think that gives me about 135 to 140 pound. Lovely day's fishing, loads of fish caught. So I'll come back to you once we've weighed in and let you know exactly what I've finished up with. Just while we wait for the scales, I thought it'd be a nice chance to quickly run through my tackle and my bait that I've chosen today. First up, rigs. So this rig has been my rig for fishing the short pole, where obviously I fish hard pellets at the start of the match and then I fish meat later on. Elastic wise, I've got the 14 to 16 FXT hybrid. Nice and soft on the strike. I get a bit carried away, whack into them a bit hard sometimes, so that cushions it lovely. Powers up really nice when I pull it through the puller and I can land the fish reasonably fast. Main line, 019 FXT rig line, nice and strong, not going to let me down. It's just there to do a job, make sure it doesn't get broke. Although it actually has one, I've been cut off a couple of times today, but in general when I'm playing fish, that's not going to let me down. Really, really strong. Couple of number 8 back shots. It's been windy today, that's just helping sink this bit of line, keep my float under control. Dead simple. Now float wise, I've gone for a round bodied type float. Reason for that being, like I said, the wind's really strong and I can just hold on to that a little bit, keep it nice and still and present my bait really well. And that is 0.6 of a gram. Again, it's only 4.5 foot deep, so a heavy float, but the wind was really bad at times. Typical of the end of the match, it's calmed right down now. But when the wind was bad, that's allowed me to just present my bait really nicely. Coming down to my shot, I've just got a spread out bulk, probably spread over maybe 8 inches of number 9 shot. They're maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch apart. Spread all the way down to my hook length. That's just allowed me, the peg slopes upwards as it comes away from me in the direction that the toe was going. As the toe takes my float, that's just helping keep everything tight as the whole rig tightens up against my hook bait. Below that, 6-inch hook length, 017 FXT rig line. I actually stepped that up to 019 near the end when I was hoping I was going to be bagging. And then I've had a size 16 404 hook to start with a hair rigged band. And then after that I've changed to a 404 spade in a size 14 for hooking my meat. Now going on to the rig for out in the open water, it's actually been broken off, but I'll talk you quickly through it using this one as most of the components are the same. That same 14 to 16 FXT hybrid, the 019 rig line, 017 hook length again. I've had the same float on, but I've stepped that up a little bit, and that's been 0.8 of a gram. Again, that wind and the added depth out there just helped me present my bait a little bit better. Now shotting wise, I started off with a bulk of number 9s about halfway up my rig, and then 3 number 9s equally spread below that. That allowed me to flick it out, hold it on a tight line and try and catch a few fish on the drop. When the conditions worsened later on, I changed to this same spread bulk that I've had on my other rig. A little bit more positive, gets my bait down, gets my rig fishing. When the wind was bad, it just allowed me to fish a little bit better. And then again, I've had the same hook length, 017 FXT rig line and a size 14 404 spade end for hooking my meat on. So 2 really simple rigs, but both have been really designed around stability and allowing me to fish in the conditions that weren't too good. Lastly, my margin rig. Obviously I've only caught 1 fish on that, which you've seen me catch right at the end as I was talking to you. But again, elastic wise, this one's a bit stronger. I was thinking at some point I would probably catch a lot of fish in the edge and I was wanting to be able to land them nice and quick, so I've stepped it up to the 16 to 18 FXT hybrid. 021 rig line, again nice and strong, even stronger than my other rig. I was wanting to catch a lot of fish on this late when I might need to land them quickly. I didn't want it letting me down. 0.4 of a gram float. Slim body this time. It's a lot easier to keep still in that shallower water where I was fishing down the margin, so I didn't need that round body on the other rig, and a nice thick 2mm bristle so I can see any liners and see proper bites. Unfortunately, I only had the one right at the end. Then a simple bulk of shot. They're just number 9 shot. There's actually a couple came off when I was playing that fish I caught, like I mentioned earlier. And then below that I've got a 6-inch hook length of 019 FXT rig line and a size 12 404 hook. Now I've had that 6-inch hook length. In that shallow water I thought the fish might be a little bit spooky and I just wanted to keep my bulk a little bit further. I know a lot of people use a 4-inch hook length, but that 6-inch hook length just keeps my bulk a little bit further from the fish and less chance of spooking them. Really, really simple rig, strong, durable, stable, done everything I wanted. And then bait wise, I've had some 6mm Coppens pellets bought from the fishery this morning. You can actually use your own here, but good value, so I just bought them while I'm here. They were for feeding to start with, just through a kinder pot to try and catch a few early fish on that short pole line. More pellets in 8mm this time. They were basically just hook bait again at the start on the short pole, and that's really been it for pellets, to be honest. I've only fished them at the start of the match, and then it's all been meat from there on. Meat wise, 8mm cubes. As you can see, I've not got much left, no change there. A little bit heavier, a little bit more small fish proof, and allowing me to target bigger fish, which obviously I'm fishing for to catch the type of weights that are going to win here at Sykehouse. Probably not me today by the look of it, but I've had a great day's fishing, and most of it has been caught on that 8mm meat. And then the final couple of baits I've had, some micro pellets and some maggots, which I've fed down the edge again like I spoke about. I've only had the one fish down there. Bronze maggots because that's what I've got left from the river. Micro pellets, which really help draw them fish into the shallow water in the edges. But nice simple bait tray. Most of my fish, probably 95%, have been caught on them 8mm cubes of meat. Brilliant day's fishing, so let's go and see exactly what I'm going to weigh in. Absolutely brilliant match today, loads and loads of fish being caught. I've actually had a little bit more than I thought. I was expecting to have maybe 130 pound, I've weighed in 160 pound. So better than what I thought I had. Not quite sure where I've came yet. There is 180 pound on my lake at the other end of the lake. Rumours of some big weights on Match Lake. Someone I think had 150 pound halfway through, so we'll wait and see. We'll put the results on here and let you know exactly how I've done. Certainly not won, but hoping I might sneak in the frame. In hindsight, there was definitely a few more fish to be caught. Probably that 180 pound that's won this lake, probably could have had that, to be honest. Persevered for a little bit too long pole in the open water. The conditions have got too bad. I was missing too many bites, not really catching enough. Probably should have dropped in short 45 minutes earlier. And then when they have come short, I caught a few, had a really good run, then I've had a bad half an hour, and it's come good again when I've put a kinder pot back on. Sort of threw some meat in when I hooked one, and then kinder potted some when I went in, and that seemed to be much better. Missed less bites, caught more fish. I've been a little bit unlucky, I think, as well. I've had 5 fish, I think, snag me where you wouldn't think there's any snags just in open water, and have ended up cutting me off. So that's potentially another 30 plus pound. So yeah, a little bit unlucky with that, I felt, but definitely can't complain at the fishing. It's been an unbelievable day, unbelievable fishery, shown by the popularity. You can see exactly why it's so popular to get this many anglers midweek. So I'll definitely be back soon. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. You make sure you like and subscribe the channel to follow any more videos that we've got coming, and I'll see you again on the bank soon.